Welcome to Around Sam, where we discuss events happening right here on the Sam Houston State University campus. I'm your host, Jeffrey Martinez, also known as the Caribbean Ghost, and coming up next, we'll be discussing everything going on with Sam Houston's theater production. Here to give us all the information about that, we have Tom Pryor, and plus a couple other surprise guests. All this and more right after this. Welcome back to Around Sam. I'm your host, Jeffrey Martinez, also known as the Caribbean Ghost, and I'm joined by Tom Pryor, Zach, and Robert. So, gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Good, Jeffrey. How are you?
Doing good, sir.
Good.
All right. For how long have you guys been in the theater department, and what was your first production, either here or somewhere else?
So I've been here for 4 years. I'm a senior now. My first production here was Everybody by... it was directed by Patrick Pearson. That was my sophomore year. Yeah, that was my first production here.
Yeah, Zach and I are both seniors. Came here at the same time. My first production here was Our Lady of 121st Street back in 2019, spring of 2019. Yeah.
All right. What about you, Mr. Pryor?
I've been here since 2003, and now I'm chair of the department. So it's been a good long time.
Wow.
Yeah, be here. Yeah.
So you guys have been here for quite some time. All right. What was the most exciting production you've been a part of at Sam Houston State University?
I think it's the production that Everybody Zach and I were in. It's a show where basically there's 5 characters and you choose what character you're going to play live on stage the night you're performing. So you memorize 5 parts, and then on stage, you don't know what you're going to play until you're in front of the audience and you draw it randomly from like a lottery. That was really hard, but it was a lot of fun.
It was absolutely fun. My favorite production was Richard III. We did it last year. It was last spring. It was my first COVID show. So we had it filmed, and there was still a live audience. But it was an interesting experience because we had to do it masked. But I was very excited because I got to like swing a broadsword around, like that kind of stuff. So I had a blast. Yeah.
Okay. Do you still get jitters sometimes when it's opening night, even as directors?
Yeah, it's worse. I think it's worse as the director. Like, because whenever you're the actor, you have control of what you do on stage. But whenever you're out of the spotlight, you just kind of sit back and hope something doesn't go awry or go out of line, or you have to watch it happen. But it's also enjoyable. So that's that's why we do it.
Yeah, it can be very stressful. I'm currently a director at a news show, and I've calmed down a little bit, but I understand where you guys are coming from. It can be a little jittery, and sometimes you just get nervous that you just don't want anything to go wrong.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
What is the hardest part, in your opinion, of putting on a production?
God. I think the hardest part about putting on a production is the intent. Because it's not just what we want. It's what the author wants. It's what the actors also think about. It's what the audience thinks about. It's combining all 4. So I think that's the hardest part. Because I think it's got to be a good blend of all to make a good cohesive show.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also really new to keep up with all of the emails that you're sent. It's like you're not just getting emails from the actors, the schedule with your stage manager, but you're also talking to other directors above you, and also people who do your costumes, and people who do the set, and all the technicians that work the lights and sound. So you're just having to stay in rapid contact with everybody that's a part of the show.
Lots of meetings.
Yeah,
lots of meetings. Spontaneous meetings. So can we meet at 2 tomorrow? I guess so. I guess we're meeting. Yes, we'll be there.
Okay. Will you tell us about the Swan? Regarding the Swan, I did see a poster on here in the building, and I was like, wait, they made this movie here? So tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, The Swan is a play at in the theater department, and it's about this woman named Dora Hand, who is actually having an affair, in a way, legally an affair with this married man, and then one night a swan crashes into her window, and it sets her on this harrowing journey, and they form a bizarre triangle whenever the swan begins to develop very human-like capacities and qualities. So it's that's kind of what it is.
Okay. Tell us a bit about your process in directing that.
It was very interesting. I'm not going to say it was difficult because I got the concept. The hardest part was making sure other people understood the concept as well. You know, you have so many movies that you consume that are kind of like that. I mean, you watch the B movie, right? And it's this animated production, and it's like this woman who develops this relationship with a bee, but nobody batted an eye, you know? But then I submit a play like The Swan, and they're like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, you see so many movies like that, the Bee Movie, The Shape of Water, even Edward Scissorhands in a way where it's this humanoid person who, with these, you know, they still have those human qualities that, you know, the main character loves and appreciates. So yeah, that was kind of the hardest part.
Okay. Tell us a bit about Endgame and what movie is the Endgame?
So this play, In Game, it is an absurdist play. So is The Swan.
Yeah.
In Game is about 4 people who are stuck in a very desolate, empty world, and they are stuck in this house. There's a master of the house. His name's Ham. He has a servant, and he has put his 2 parents in trash bins. They have no legs, and they're just stuck in trash bins. And it's these 4 people just waiting death. And it's a very exciting play. It's a lot of action. You don't think it is because they keep asking questions about life, like, what are we beginning to mean something? All these lifelong questions, and they're just trying to solve these life's questions through really intense dialogue and everything like that. It's very fun.
Okay. Tell us a bit. Oh, what was your process for directing Endgame?
The process started, I think, when we started submitting stuff. Because I was like, okay, I absolutely want to do this, but I have to learn about what this is. Because absurdism is a different style of theater compared to like commedia dell'arte, realism, things like that. It's got its own reason why it was born. Because it was made in the 1950s after World War II, when people were like, well, life is meaningless. You know, so there's a certain audience that style of theater is trying to get to. And so I had to study a little bit about it. And then getting into the process, auditioning, everything like that. It's also, you know, making the actors make sure that they're on the right train about it. So yeah.
Okay. Are there any content warnings for these performances?
Yeah, there's definitely some content warnings. There is, you know, some sexually explicit language and some sexually explicit activities. There's no nudity, but there is partial nudity. I think we're both looking to put some kind of strobe effect in them. So as long as you're comfortable with all 3 of those, I'm sure you'll enjoy The Swan.
Okay. How do you decide which play to do?
Well, we take theater majors take a class called Directing 2, and through the process, you basically learn how to direct actors, you know, deal with making your own set, designing your own music, finding your own music. We also do musical scenes in there where you choreograph all the dancing and, you know, train them throughout the song and direct the scene through the song. And almost at the end of it, you submit a play. And only if you want to, it is optional. And once that play is submitted, it goes to the directors of theater here, and they decide if you get to do the, you know, Sam Houston State production.
Okay. Does the process change depending on the type? Like, for example, musicals or straight plays?
Yes. I don't know how to describe. I think Tom might
We have a process in our department. We have a season selection committee. So what we try to do is to balance the genre and style of plays and musicals. We try to pepper in some Shakespeare every other year, and then we do 2 major musicals per year. And that's again, it's based on if we haven't done Sondheim for a while or the Broadway golden age of musicals. So it's a committee made up of about 7 to 8, and they read all the scripts and they get back to the rest of the faculty, and we talk about it and decide. And we also get student input. Students can suggest plays, musicals. As a matter of fact, Memphis was student suggested that I can talk about at the end of this interview.
Okay. What other departments do you collaborate with?
We collaborate with Mass Comm a lot. I'm teaching a acting for camera class right now, and it's in this studio. So it's just been a wonderful collaboration where our students can see what film production students do, what a camera person does, what a sound person does, the organized chaos on a film set, and then I can concentrate on the acting portion of it. We've collaborated with criminal justice in the past, English. I mean, you name it. We have a lot of collaborations in the past.
Okay. How do you choose a director for the plays?
Spin a wheel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the faculty directed, it depends on if the director, what they're passionate about doing. And then for the student directed pieces like the Swan and Endgame, there's a process that they go through where they're submitting a directing book, an interview talking about the play, and kind of writing a application or a synopsis and about why they want to do it. That's the important thing. Is whenever a director wants to do something, the big question is why. What relevance is it going to have to an audience?
Okay. Where can you purchase tickets?
You purchase tickets. We got if you go to Sam Houston, if you just look up Sam Houston Theater Ticket Office, the
Box office.
Box office.
Yeah.
They'll have links to all the shows. It's not just us. It's the dance department. It's the music department. So you see all the shows that we do.
Right. You can receive them either electronically through your smartphone or device, and also there's also will call. You just go up to the ticket booth and receive them there.
Yep.
Okay. Will students receive free tickets?
I believe so.
Students,
I've gotten free tickets.
yeah, students do receive free tickets.
Okay.
Right, complimentary tickets.
Okay. After these performances, what else does Sam's theater department have in store for all students?
We have got, after these two productions, we've got a production called Memphis. It's a musical that I mentioned earlier, and it's about 1950s, a white disc jockey in the 1950s in Memphis who falls in love with an African-American woman who's this fantastic singer and wants to get to New York and sing. So the fact that they fall in love, mixed race couple, it's about institutional racism. It's about how love can transcend that and how music can help transcend that as well. And it's about the genesis of rock and roll, Motown. The music is fantastic. And it's a musical with a lot of heart.
Okay.
So-
Are there any other plays that are coming soon to the theater department?
None that I can tell you. we have a season next year, but we haven't announced it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How different of an experience was it directing and performing during the pandemic? Because I know a lot of theaters completely shut down because of when the pandemic started.
Do you guys want to talk about performing in the pandemic?
Yes.
I mean, that's
I mentioned Richard because it was filmed, it was recorded, and that was sent out. But we also wore masks and we stood by, the 6-foot policy and everything like that. So it was a challenge, but we still got to create a good piece of art.
Yes, there were some shows that we did that were completely virtual. And not just that, but the acting was virtual as well. We did a version of She Kills Monsters to where, all the actors were on Zoom. It was a Zoom-based show. There were also some that we did live, but that was filmed. Only a certain amount of people were allowed in the theater to watch it, such as Richard III by William Shakespeare. All the actors, we had sword fights and stuff like that, but it was all, away from the audience and over a camera. Yeah, it's very different now. I don't think we'll ever go back to what normal is for a lot of people, but we've definitely returned to a state to where we can do theater live again, and that's been very enjoyable and feels good.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So thank you so much for being our guest, and around Sam. And
Jeffrey, can I say one more thing?
yes, sir.
I'd like to go back to the opening night question you had. They did a study, I think it was about 10 to 15 years ago, and they put electrodes on firemen, or fire people, sorry, and electrodes on actors on opening night. And the readings were the same when firemen went into a fire as when an actor steps on stage on opening night.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's how intense it can be. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I've read about theaters and I've seen theaters and they're pretty intense. I can see why a lot of actors love enjoying their time with theater plays and put in their time for all that. But thank you so much, Tom Pryor, for being our guest for today, and Zach and Robert, thank you also for being our guests. And make sure to check out all the events of the theater departments also, and check out other events we have coming up. SHSU Ring Ceremony, April 6, 2022. And we have Deliberative Dialogues on April 7, 2022. And Spring into Health, April 11, 2022. And thank you for tuning in for Around Sam. And this has been Jeffrey Martinez signing off.